today we have a wonderful guest called Audrey Gaussiran, a very good friend of mine. She studied at the Conservatoire des Danses de Montréal. She traveled the world to perfect her art. I know her also as first and foremost as one of the top salsa dancers here in Canada. Not to mention, she's also quite amazing in the other styles. And now we can say you're focusing on building your artistic creations. And also you're trying hard to market your work, right? So because an artist in the basement, even if he's great, nobody knows.
Exactly. If you're in the basement, nobody knows what you're doing. You're not really doing what's important as an artist, sharing.
And how did your love with dance start?
So my love with dance, I think it started off my mom actually, because she put my sister and I into dancing when we were just kids, like 4 years old. I started dancing. My mom wished she would dance. She danced as a kid. She would dance around the house, but she came from a family of immigrants, so that was not an option. Hey, they didn't have the money to dance. So she kind of gave me that opportunity and her passion for dancing, which was in the living room. But for me, that was an opportunity to go into the studio and learn. And I still dance at home too. That was part of it. Grooving in my room, putting the radio on. That was always a thing.
Awesome. Did you know right away that's going to be your line of work?
I had no idea. I had no idea that I was going to become a professional dancer until I was about 20 or something. Like, nobody was an artist in my family. And I danced for all these years just as a hobby. And I never thought you could be anything else than a ballet dancer. Like, so for me, and I didn't like ballet that much. So I was like, okay, so that's not my thing, you know, I didn't want to do that. And then at some point, I kind of saw an opportunity to learn in other styles, and maybe I can actually live off of another dance style, another dance form, and like that was very late, like in terms of dancing, because of course, like people choose their careers at 18, 19 usually, and that's fine. But if you're a dancer, like I started my professional program at 19, and there were kids with me, like they were in high school and they were 13 and we're in the same class. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so late. I'm so behind. Like people do professional programs from when they're kids, doing ballet and all that. So when you start a professional program at 19, you feel like you're a bit behind. But I had dance all my life, so it was okay. It was just very interesting to kind of go to the Conservatoire de Danse de Montréal and be... like I would have ballet every day and I wasn't that great, but then I would do all the other styles and I'd be like, okay, you guys don't know anything. Like,
yeah.
It was just very a clash between like the other dance styles and how ballet is so valued in the professional kind of training programs.
How was it to be so like 5 years older basically than everybody else?
Well, not everybody else. Like some people were my age, but they had that much more experience in terms of professional training. I had training, but not like in a former, like proper professional school. Mm-hmm. So you would have a variety at the Conservatoire. But yeah, this little one who doesn't know. I think the main difference is the little one she's 13, like she's doing this program, but she doesn't really know if she wants to be a dancer. At the age I was at 19, when I started my program, I was like, okay, I'm doing this for real. I actually dropped out of university and I was like, I'm going to focus on this because, you know, my body is my body. I need to train it now because it's not like, kind of do it halfway. Like there's no more time when you're 19. You're like, okay, it's all in or you're out, you know? So that was kind of my vision. So I was very focused, and I think younger ones didn't have that mindset. And I think that actually, you hear a lot of like Baryshnikov started pretty late. Like great dancers, sometimes they start later, but then they have like that vision of what they want to accomplish, and they're maybe more focused than kids that just are being pushed into a program.
Now, what was the conversation like when you said to your mother, listen, I'm stopping university and I'm going to shake the bonbon?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
How
I'm
did it go?
dance for Ricky Martin. No,
yes.
That's not what it said.
No. How did it go?
It was like, it was a tough conversation because it was like, okay, you're always going to get to do what you want in life. You know, I always had that from both my parents.
Yeah.
So very supported, but then it's like, I'm going to be a dancer. And they're like, that was not an option.
Yeah.
And coming from a family they were pretty well off, so they were just like, okay, just make sure you can live. You like the money aspect was pretty important. Like make sure, and that was my first goal when I left school was like, okay, I need to live off of my art because I need to prove them that I can do that and improve myself also.
Of course. So basically they said you can do whatever you want in life except music.
They didn't say except.
Music and dance. You cannot be a musician and you cannot dance.
They didn't say that.
No, they didn't say that, but it was implied.
It wasn't even implied. It's just, I think it never.
Listen, I played music all my life.
I didn't, I dance as a hobby. They always thought it was going to be a hobby.
Same thing here. I played music all my life.
Yeah.
And it was
I think
no
they just never
question.
saw the option.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't live off music.
Exactly.
That's what I heard. Like my parents are both engineers, right? So I can understand their point of view now. But back then, I think they're just dead worried. Do you think we're going to end up in a club shooting heroin?
Yeah, well, that's for musicians.
Yeah, okay, well, dancers don't do that.
Maybe you're going to be anorexic and and have bruised toes. I don't know.
But that's something always interests me because I remember one time I came to one of your class, a pas de deux class, because they were missing guys, and it happened to be I was a guy, right? So that's the only prerequisite, you know. I told her, like, I don't know how to dance ballet, you know, just come, you know. They just needed guys to hold girls, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I came in. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I just thought when I was holding the girls, how much shaking was involved and how much pain I could feel through them, through their toes. I was seeing them like struggle, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this. You know, it was too much. Like, we're not in the same kind of, let's say, bag of tricks, right? So I'm completely out of my element, and I'm holding these ladies and girls and to do their moves for 2 hours, and they're on pointing shoes. And I'm thinking, man, you guys are going to get wrecked feet by the time you hit 20.
Yeah, but not just like, you're eventually your feet really transform into something terrible. But like, I remember days where my feet were bleeding, and you know, it's such like an army thing where you just have to keep going, and I would have tears falling down my face and be like, no, I'm just going to keep going, because if I stop, she's going to make us do it 5 more times, you know. It's like, it's really like, I don't like that mentality, and I try to step away from it. That's why I'm not a ballet dancer, because I don't really like that way. But it did form me, like, in a way that I'm a tough cookie, I guess, because it's like, okay, I've seen worse, you know. Like, hard work doesn't scare me because I see what ballet dancers do, and I've been there, and I'm like, okay, you know.
But it's also extremely tough on the body, like the physical training, but also the image, right? The image on what girls have in their minds, right? Very young.
Totally.
How did you go through that?
For me, since that wasn't my goal, that was not too bad. And somehow I didn't get the comments too much from the teachers, but I would hear girls around me being called into the office and being like, okay, you need to lose some weight. And girls, like a good friend of mine, she wanted to be a ballet dancer so bad, but she was too small. And she has body issues. Like, it leaves marks on people. And I think that's really sad. And even if that wasn't my goal, like, even in other dance fields, even salsa, like, you see how people are dressed in their salsa shows. Like, if you're going to be that naked on stage, of course you're going to have a second to be like, okay, how do I look like? Am I skinny enough to be wearing this bikini? Like, it is a very physical art, and you're going to have to, you know, look at your body and be okay or not with it. Like, that reflection, that thought is going to go through your head at some point, for sure. And for me, I do like it is like a tough thing, but mostly I feel like the pressure from the outside. I don't feel too bad about myself, but sometimes, like, just the way people look at me, like, oh, you're the big one in the group, you know, you're the fat girl. And I don't consider myself fat, but
Jesus,
you know, like, that's sometimes depending on what.
If you're a fat, I'm a whale.
Well, yeah.
Here we go. Okay, let's get it off our chest.
But
okay?
yeah.
But was there scales? People were weighted? I heard that about it.
There was that, not at the conservatoire, but there was that in some other schools. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My memory of that conservatoire experience was also the first time there was the classes that I did with you, a couple, I can't remember how many, and then there was the moment where I approached you to do a choreo, and it was very interesting the way it happened, because I was looking for a partner, and you just said, "Yeah, I'll be your partner."
Yeah.
And I was pretty intimidated, and and the thing is I said to myself, and that I don't know if I told you the story. I said to myself, it would be a good idea that I go see your show, the year-end show, so I have a general idea of what you're capable of doing, as if I'm a scout, I'm I'm a manager, exactly,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
So which was a really bad idea, because every single style you were dancing almost like the lead dancer, so you stuck out from the crowd, and I was thinking, I can't do this, I was like, my body doesn't bend that way, And I was very, very impressed with all the different styles you were training in, and I guess after that you worked in every style from what I remember.
Almost, yeah. I worked with flamenco. I worked with tap. I've worked with contemporary ballet, even if I didn't want to do ballet, I did end up doing a neoclassical piece. Yeah, in a way that also was. A great way for me to be able to live off my art, like not being a specialist in one style only, because if I only did salsa, I don't know if I would have lived off of it. If I wanted to, let's say you don't want to teach and you just want to perform and be a salsa artist, that's kind of hard. Like, I think being able to, okay, I'm going to perform samba, I'm going to perform this, I'm going to do this. Yeah. So I did perform in a lot of styles, and that really helped me.
Just generally speaking, what do you feel throughout your experiences is different from every single style let's just a general question. So you have the salsa world, which I know very well, the congresses, the shows and stuff like that. And the other worlds, I have no idea how it works. How does it work? Performing, just general feeling.
I think there's a big difference between dances like ballet, contemporary, which are more institutionalized, I would say. So, like, you could live off of grant money, so ask money from the government, and then create pieces and then tour, and you create work that's maybe an hour length, which is the minimum for a big theater. And that's like the reality of ballet contemporary. That's how it works. The companies or the independent choreographers. And salsa and all other fields that are a bit more urban, I would say. So hip hop, anything salsa, anything Latin samba or anything. I think you have to go, it's a whole other game. It's mostly teaching if you want to live off of it. And then you'll get to perform, but it's not like the formal venues. And I think to me that's a shame, because I think those art forms, I really value them. I love the way, the vocab of salsa, how you move your body with hip hop. And I think they're all intricate and interesting, but the market, the way the business models are not as...
Say it.
They're not as interesting.
Okay. Well, tell me what's not interesting about them.
Is the value we put into them. Like, if nowadays, like it's changing, but if you wanted to ask the government for money and you're a salsa dancer, actually now I think it's harder for a salsa dancer to get money than probably a hip hop dancer, because hip hop is becoming more used. Like, you have rubber band dance that mixes ballet with hip hop, and so this is happening. But whenever even I talk about salsa, I teach lady styling, and I see this little smile from people that are professional dancers around me, and it's like, it's like this little, it's very light, it's very shallow. Like, I still feel that, and I would be curious to what the grant money is with that, because I don't know that there's value being from the other dance styles, how they view salsa. I'm not sure that it's valued too.
Is it because it's a street dance?
It is a street dance.
But hip hop is street too,
exactly.
Right?
So it's not just that. It's how it's being marketed. Also, like, what do we, if you haven't done salsa ever, what do you think about salsa? Maybe you think Zumba. Maybe you think your vacation in the South. Like, That's the stereotype I think that people have, and then they're very kind of tacky, light, like, oh, it's just a fiesta, it's all the fiesta, and I'm like, there's way more to it.
Don't you think that the dance shows just brought it home? Like all the dance shows made it more serious as a dance, like the salsa aspect?
You mean like on TV?
Yeah.
Or I think it's helping, definitely. But there is definitely a big ballroom influence, I think, to what is being portrayed as salsa.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean ballroom in what way?
So the whole world of salsa is being influenced by ballroom, I think, right now. It's also being influenced by the roots of Afro-Cuban, and that is making it more technical and at the same time more street. So there is a very interesting movement that's happening. But what we're seeing on stage, on TV, let's say, a lot of tricks, a lot of ballroom technique where legs are very extended, those kind of very full extension that is not necessarily how salsa was born, where it was more groovy, was more, roots, grounded, bent knees, all that stuff is not necessarily what's being valued. And I think it could be also. And, it brings value to salsa, but it also brings value to hip hop. I don't think those shows are good, like entry point for dance styles, but I think if you want to go into depth with art, which is where I'm like where I want salsa to go, where I want the art forms that I used to go, I don't think there's a lot of taking that and bringing into that. Like, let's say, okay, you see hip hop at Révolution, great. Then you see hip hop with rubber band dance, so you see like the refined art form of it, the company style of it. What's that? What's the parallel with salsa? Where is that company? I don't know. Do you know of it? Do you know of any company that does that kind of work? Like brings full-length shows on stage that are Latin-based? I don't know of any.
For now, what always, and that's something that always bothered me, like to do so much work to go and perform to places for 3-4 minutes. That's one aspect that always bothered me. I would always love to see like a whole piece of like salsa or maybe Latin dances, but a good hour. But I don't know if there's a market for that. I don't know if people would go.
I've seen a Broadway show that was Latin-based in London.
Yeah.
So they had done that, and I thought it was very well done, very interesting. But it's not something that's very common. And I think so far what I've seen is Broadway productions that are kind of Latin influenced. But I haven't seen a company that is dedicated to that. I know there's some Latin companies in New York, but I mean, we're not hearing a lot about them. In Montreal, I definitely don't see anybody doing that, and it's a big city. There's place for that, definitely. I think it's just the format. The model is you're doing a 2, 3, 4 minute piece, and it needs to be cramped with all the moves you have, and that's the model we have right now. I mean, there's interesting things in there. It's not what I prefer personally as an artist. I think there's value also in taking the time to develop an idea, repeating movement, like where's that in salsa? When do we ever repeat something? Sometimes it's nice for the audience to see something. Oh, I've seen it once, it's so fast, like it's a flash. Maybe you want to see it again, like develop something artistically.
I agree.
Yeah.
You auditioned once for those TV shows.
Yeah.
Which one was it? So
You Think You Can Dance.
Okay. How far did you go?
So first year I was off to the last cut before you go to TV, I guess. So top 60 in Canada.
What did you dance?
What did I dance that first year? I did Latin. I did cha-cha-cha, if I remember well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did another year also?
I auditioned a second year. I couldn't do it in Montreal, so I went to St. John. And I did flamenco, and they sent me to Toronto. Like they gave me my pass to go to Toronto to the final, cuts. But then I had a contract in Egypt, and I was like, you know what? I prefer to go to Egypt.
What don't see on TV?
Oh,
like the
God.
Interesting things, please. How does it all happen? Things that they don't show.
Things that you don't show.
Yeah.
Well, for me, what really was not cool is like you see there's the producers, which you never see on TV, but they're sitting right next to the judges. So there's a whole table of judges, but then on their side, a little table back there. And they have like the people that are auditioning, they'll have like pictures one after the other of people that are kind of going to come on stage and dance. And sometimes before they even dance, I see the pictures coming in front of the judges, and some people's faces are crossed out.
They're dead. Just
They're
because
crossed
they're dead.
out. Like
They're
they
dead.
haven't danced, and you're already crossed out.
Oh my God.
So there's casting.
Yeah,
like
100%.
they want a blonde girl, they want a black guy, they want this.
And
they
what
want
about
that,
the drama and the story? It's always, if you don't have
You
a
need
story.
to have a good story.
Yeah, you must have like a puppy who died.
Yeah,
No?
that's kind of boring.
No?
No,
you
I
can't
don't.
be. I remember there's one a good friend of mine when I was working with him a couple of years back. He's a really good musician, and he said we all know who's the best singer in Quebec. And she auditioned to that, like the voice shows, and she never got it. You know why? Because every time they were asking her questions, she was like, "No, I'm happily married.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids. I love them. Everything's fine. I love life. Flowers. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
No drama.
No drama.
Huh? Is it necessary, you think?
Yes, they do like bombard you with questions when you come in. Like
They want to find something.
they
right?
want to find something, and it becomes pathetic because you're trying to come out with a story, even if you don't have one.
Did you?
I did have a little.
Come on.
Something.
What did you say? What did you say? Come on.
Should I say this?
Yeah, of course you should.
Okay, well-
Fantastic.
Okay.
Come
So
on.
big. I'm gonna come out.
Yeah.
Here it is. My
Yeah.
dad is gay.
All right.
So I had a terrible child. No, it's not true. My dad is gay, but
But that's not a story. It's true.
it's true. But
All
I was
right.
like, maybe that's a story for them. Like, oh my God, like I had to live with that. But no,
Everything was fine.
It wasn't really a big story because I didn't have much of an impact on my life. So I was like, okay, next.
So that's it. So you should have cried at that moment.
I should, I don't know, become emotional and be
Yeah,
like, my
because
life was destroyed.
You were
and-
60, the 60th pick.
yeah,
You would have been the 30th pick.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just not interesting enough.
But it's strange because all these TV shows are emotional based, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's more of a popularity contest. Besides the fact there's some good dancers, but
It is.
It's still, if you're a really good dancer and you're on camera, you're just like, yeah, everything's cool. It's not enough. It's not enough because every time they interview you, if you're like, yeah, sure, I like my yeah,
They're
if you're
looking for
nonchalant-
personalities.
Exactly.
They're looking for
Exactly.
personalities for sure. And if you're quiet, if you're not like a drama queen or a weirdo, sometimes that could be interesting. But yeah, if you're too normal, it's just nah.
But strangely enough, if you're in a professional world, you don't
Then-
want to be too
No.
dramatic because you don't want to be complicated, right?
No, if you're dancing with a company, you don't want to be that person who's always the, drama. Those are not fun people to work with. So, yeah, it's not a reality of the field, of the real work. Like, that's what I always say.
You know what we'll say? I'll script you a really nice, intense, dramatic story next time you audition. Trust me, everybody's going to be crying.
And then when they find out it's a lie, well, they're gonna love it. It's like Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
yeah, fake news.
she's lying on
Fake
TV.
news. Fake news. She made it all up. It's going to create so much popularity. You'll be voted. Everybody's going to vote for you. You're going to be like, those like in wrestling, they do it. Like there's a good guy, there's a bad guy. And
I'm
it
gonna be
works.
the bad guy?
It works.
Wow.
As long as people watching, right?
Yeah.
The
I
rest
guess.
is, all right.
Whatever.
All right. So it just, I know you travel a lot, right? You have a traveling heart.
Yeah.
Dancing wise, where did you travel? What experiences are really, you still remember?
Well, I talked about Egypt. I think I want to go back there.
Let's do it.
Because that was really an interesting one for me. Travel there with Best of Broadway. So little show I was doing. And the interesting thing was we traveled there right after the Arab Spring. So quite an interesting time to be there. Like they just said, okay, you can go, but it's not really recommended.
Seriously.
So we're in Cairo.
Were you afraid going there or not at all?
No, they had taken down the notice where you couldn't go.
Okay.
Like you really shouldn't go. They were just like, it's not great, but if you really have to go. And I mean, we went, there was no tourists there. So we visited the pyramids and there was no lineup. There was nobody there. So it's pretty weird and cool. But also to feel the energy of the city with the people feeling the hope of a new kind of democracy, and they were really hype and in a new mindset. The whole country was in that spirit. So and that later on inspired a piece actually that I did in Calgary. So And then going there, Calgary was a place where I lived for 4 years, working with an amazing company called Decidedly Jazz Dance Works. And then like it's a part of Canada, so it's not that different. But at the same time, like Canada, like Montreal and Quebec is different from the rest, I think. So I had to kind of adapt to that lifestyle and do the company work, which was amazing.
How long did you stay?
I did almost 4 years with the company.
Wow.
So that's like 9 to 5.
Did I know you back then?
Yeah, you did.
And you left for 4 years?
Yeah, well, I would come back in the summer.
Okay, that's why.
So that's why you didn't miss me that
Okay,
much.
here we go. Okay, and it was contemporary, right?
It was jazz, but
Jazz.
very like contemporary jazz, I would call it, because I hate to say jazz because people have exactly
jazz hands.
Exactly, and I'm like, no, just stop that in your head.
Yes,
Just
jazz
stop
hands.
it already.
I'm a dancer.
No, there's no like hands. So yeah, I love the company because they would do a style of jazz that was very Afro rooted, kind of what we do in salsa too. Use all the other styles of dancing that have the same kind of path of mixing the Afro with the European. So tap, we did Latin stuff too, kind of mixing it all together. Really,
why they hired you? How did they?
I don't know why they hired me.
But
No.
how did they find you? How did they hire you?
They audition in Montreal every year. And Montreal is a city that has a lot of art, but not a lot of auditions.
Seriously.
Strange enough. Like, so that when there's an audition, I would just go. Like, whatever. I didn't really, I looked into the company a little bit, but it was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to go. It was okay. The audition was okay. And
What did they ask you to do?
we did a lot of jazz movement, like Luigi, if you know Luigi.
I don't know anything about Luigi. Please tell me.
Hey, Luigi does a little bit of a jazz technique. So we did, some swing movement bass, some Latin movement bass. So obviously they were looking for technical people, but also people that could groove. Very important. So, and that could adapt to different styles. And I was like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. So the choreographer kind of liked me at the beginning, right off the bat. But then I had to go and see more about the company. So they invited me to go and do like a workshop, an intensive workshop. So I went there for 3 days and trained with them. And that's when I fell in love with the company.
Okay.
So
4 years over there?
Yeah, 4 years.
How much a dancer working for a company can hope to earn a year?
A year? Oh my
Yeah.
God, not a lot.
Let's just go ballpark.
So 20 something, 25 maybe, 25,000 a year.
Insurance or no insurance?
With that company, I did.
Okay.
So, but it's very case by case. You have to see every company has different conditions, work conditions. Yeah, it's apparently that company is one of the best in terms of work conditions for the dancers in Canada.
Do you ever think about getting hurt? Or no?
I do, not too much, but I do. It's part of our reality. Like I do get hurt anyways. Like I feel sore here. I feel sore there. Oh, my knee's bugging me these days. Like it's part of the reality of everyday life. But like it's what if something big happens?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it is a risk that you have to live with. Or you buy insurance, but that's pretty expensive.
Jesus, nobody wants to insure dancers. I
No.
inquired once,
Yeah.
and it's actually made more sense just to save money
That's what I think too.
because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And not only that, the funniest thing is how they're built. It's like you can only start to get money after 2 months, or sometimes not 30 days, 90 days,
Okay.
and the shortest amount of time you decide, the more money it's going to cost you. So basically, most of the injuries we can get healed within 6 weeks. And that's
Right.
the amount, the moment they're going to start paying if it goes higher.
Yeah.
But if it goes higher, then they have a maximum rate of amount payment. Usually that's 2 years. So if it's really something really, really bad in the past 2 years, it's going to stop you anyways.
Yeah.
So what's the
I don't
point,
really
right? I don't
see
get
the
it.
point.
Yeah.
Like I think it's better if you're good with money, if you can save some money,
Yeah.
it's better to pay off. Like I'll go to the physio, like I hurt my knee and I'm just going to the physio. And at the end of the year, it's going to cost me less to just pay the physio than pay insurance. So
Do you go often to see physio, osteo, all these guys?
Not often, like only when I'm feeling something that's off. Like I always have pain, so here and there, like small pains. For me, it's like the 2-week rule. If after 2 weeks I'm still feeling the same pain, I'm like, okay, there's something there.
I went to see once an osteo, and he said he was treating a lot of ballet dancers and those from Ballet of Montreal. le Grand Ballet Canadien.
Yeah.
And he said to me, they're the worst clients. And I go, why do you say that? You know, they're your main clients. He goes, well, when I cure them, really, they feel not normal because they're so used to a lot of pain. Then when they don't have pain at all, they feel off.
That's
like,
weird.
Wow, that's so friggin' weird. Like you actually, so these dancers are like just basically enduring pain.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
There's always something. I don't know if that's your case.
It is my case. I mean, it's not to the level of a ballet dancer, I think, but there's always a little pain here and there. For me, like you become very aware of your body and you know what's an okay pain and what's a not okay pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's just muscle, a bit sore, like that, I can dance through, no problem. But when it starts to be joints and all that, you're like, okay, that's not a good pain, you know.
What projects are you working on right now?
Right
What's the deal?
Right now, I'm really working on trying to perform my 2 shows that I have on the road. So I have 2 shows that I created last summer. One was actually created in 2017 called Corrida, and I remounted it last summer at the Festival Quartier Danse. And I also did a new piece called Contrôlène. So I was really happy to present them, like Place des Festivals, Place des Arts, and then what, you know? Like, so right now I'm at the stage where I'm trying to, you know, sell the show basically and contact a lot of theaters and being like, okay, do you want to present my work? So, and I'm still new at figuring this out. Like I would love to go on tour. I've been asked to go to Poland, like some people in Poland. Apparently they're into my work in Poland. 2 people in Poland. I don't know why.
Relatives?
No. I don't know. But like there's some opportunities that are there, but for me like my new challenge is, okay, how do you go from the first step, which is creating an art piece,
Can you walk us through?
So my first step is right now writing a grant. So having the idea, of course, getting partners, very important. Before you even write the grant, you want to have like financial partners, which might be just like a theater being like, I will put your show on stage and that there's your partner. Or that could be Ilias, be like, hey, will you lend me your studio for free? For me to create a piece, I'll go in when nobody's there in the afternoon. You're going to be my financial partner. And with those financial partners, then you can apply, you can ask for a grant. They see you're solid, you have a project, you have, you know, some ties financially. And then hopefully you get money from the government. So you start your project. You can start your project without the money, but it's easier to pay your people. Like I work with a digital artist. I work with musicians. So it's great to be able to surround yourself. So that's where the grant money becomes interesting. And so after you have that, you start your project. You have an opportunity to present it a premiere. So first time you present it somewhere, and now I'm at the stage where, okay, it's been presented, it's been filmed. Of course, you want to have footage. Really good footage, you do a little editing, and then you have all your material, you're ready to, you know, how much your show costs and everything, and you're trying to sell that show. And you need to figure out where that show fits, because let's say my issue right now is I have 2 30-minute shows. So if you want to go into a big theater, they only want an hour show minimum. So are those show compatible or not? Like there's a whole formatting thing again. And we're very far from the 2-3 minute salsa.
Damn. Yeah.
So it's a whole other game. And there's also traveling. Like if you have opportunities abroad, like I have an opportunity next summer. Okay, are you going to get grant money to travel? Because they might pay you for your show, but maybe they won't pay you for traveling, you know, expenses. So it's, yeah. I'm still new to it, so I'm just trying to figure it out.
When you leave, let's say if you travel, you forfeit your projects home, right? For a moment, you put them on hold. Isn't that a difficult balance? Because you spoke to me once, you said, well, I'm going to concentrate on my things. I have to be careful not to take too many other projects so I can do my own thing, or else it's not going to be done. Yeah. Do you struggle with that?
It is a juggling thing. And I think the more I grow as an artist, the pickier I become with what I take, because the amount of time is limited.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm working also with a contemporary jig, which is not in English, step dancing, contemporary step dancing company called Zogma. And they're basically hiring me 4 days a week.
Got it.
So I'm left with one day to work on my own projects. It's not a lot. It's really not a lot if you want to build something. So I have to say no to a lot of opportunities.
You told me no twice already in a year.
Oh, God.
I have
Are we
going
to make this part personal?
Yes. That's why you came here.
But I'm here today.
I wanted to confront you with this. But you said yes to the podcast, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. We got Audrey for the podcast. So good. No, I completely understand.
Right now,
listen, I completely understand. Like I feel you 100%.
Because you have to make the same choices, right?
When I had 2 kids, there's some X's left and right, and I get people asking me stuff every 2 weeks. Can you do this? Can you do it? And I tell them, listen, it's an amazing idea, but seriously, I don't even have time to do my shit.
Exactly.
So am I going to prioritize other people's project over mine? Of course not.
Yeah, right? I have a 2-year-old too, so it's like, hey.
And how's that?
It's great.
Was it smooth ride till 2?
No.
No.
What do you mean?
So
smooth?
what were the difficult? First, just as a mom, what did you find special and difficult, good and bad?
Good and bad, like the experience of having to give life is out of this world. Like
alien, right?
Yeah, and beautiful, and so much joy and love. Like it's just like people say it, but it's like what? Like it's really amazing, the feelings, the emotions that you get from that. But then the whole like, I'm an artist. I was just like doing art 70 hours a week. Like I was so into it before I had a kid. And then it's like, okay, you get your little time, your maternity time leave. And I'm like, okay. And I thought it was going to be great. I had like this dream idea. Oh, you spend time with your baby and la la la. And then I'm like, oh my
no
God,
la la here.
I'm at home and it's so depressing.
Yeah, 100%.
So the reality of what you expect and what it's really about, like, it's just, for me, it was hard. And I went back to dancing after 7 months. And I think that was a good thing because
100%.
It's too much for me to be at home all week. And I need to, I mean, if I was to do it again, I would try to like bring my baby into the studio and, I think that like maybe I wasn't hippie enough. I was trying to do like the regular mom thing, and I think I should have done it like more my way.
Yeah. It's difficult though, because let's say if you'd give a class, like I tried it once.
That's not great.
I could picture, I bring my baby to the class. Yeah, but what if my baby doesn't want to cooperate? I still have to give a class, right?
I can't teach with my kid.
No way.
No.
Yeah,
but if I want to go into the studio and create, let's say, I could do that. And if it all goes to hell, whatever.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Fine.
You ever try it?
Not a lot, actually. And that's one of my projects. I kind of, there's artist residencies where you could go and just like be 2 months somewhere and, you're just focused on your art.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to bring my kid because she's always asking me to go into the studio. She's like, Mom, I want to go dance with you. And I'm like, no, Mommy's got to go work, like for real. And I'm going to bring her.
Where do you rehearse?
I rehearse in Montreal with Zogma, and then in Laval I have another studio with the Rocal, which is an organism that offers me a free studio, free-ish studio.
Yeah, but I never heard about them. What do
I
they
know
do?
they're
What
very
do they
mysterious.
Do? Mysterious Rocal. Where is it?
Well, eventually, where there's the Place Belle in Laval.
Yeah.
Big, center of Laval. They're going to build an amazing like studio space. Well, actually, not just one studio, but like a whole building with artistic like organisms and all that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I never heard about it.
I know.
I live here.
Yeah, you need to be really well connected.
Please, after the podcast, you let me know. You let me in, okay? Because I'm completely out of the loop. Let's talk about a bit of who's your in the salsa world, right? Mm-hmm. So let's come back to the salsa world a little bit. Who's your favorite salsa dancer? Who's
my favorite salsa dancer?
Who marked you like years ago? This person.
Well, if I'm thinking of ladies, I really like Grisel Ponce. I think she's the bomb. Yeah, she's the bomb. Who do I like? So many. Well, my number one inspiration, like from the roots, is Eddie Torres, of course. Of course. Using all his vocab, but I love all the Italian guys are really solid. Well,
Tropical Jam started the kind of tight, hip hop-ish Afro-Cuban
Exactly.
salsa kind of style, right?
Yeah.
That never was something, but we saw them in LA when we went together when you
Right.
were, 4 years old?
Yeah, about 4 years old.
I don't know how old I was. I remember you were 16 or 17.
No, I was 19.
19?
Probably.
Are you sure?
Well, if I was across the border, at least I had to be 18.
Okay, so 18 years old. So good. What about, you mentioned briefly through our correspondence about the representation of sexuality in
Yeah.
salsa. What are your thoughts on that subject?
Well, I teach lady styling a lot. And for me, that's always the question that comes into mind is, what am I representing with that? And sexuality is part of life. It's part of salsa. It's part of a lot of dance styles. But I think people are not, I don't know. I don't want to say what people are thinking, but I'm reflecting on what I'm putting out there. And if it's sexy, if it's sexual, if it's, I feel like you have a responsibility as an artist to know what you're saying because you are in a power place. And if I'm going to put something very sexy, sexual with women, am I doing it in a way of saying, oh, we empower women if we're going to dance topless because men can dance topless. And that's how I feel about it. Like maybe that's your take on it. But if you're just going for sex sales, which I think a lot of people are, to me, that's the easy way out. And that's not where I stand. And I think like I'm really in a reflection process with women, how we portray them in salsa. And to me, that's very important. And it's not that I'm saying that it's not okay to be sexy on stage. It's just, do you know what you're saying?
Also, there's something really like we never question it, of course, but the guy leads, the girl follows. That's just like nowadays it's a bit weird, right? So, but we still do it, and the ladies appreciate. Nobody's complaining. Nobody's saying, hey, "How come the guys lead and the girl
traditional
can't?"
roles?
Exactly, but they're still very rooted in traditional guy and girl roles, right? Why can't we just flip the switch and just go, yeah, the girls can lead and the guys follow? Screw that.
I think
You think it's going to happen?
I think we could go there.
Because we have no choice. Somebody has to lead.
Yeah.
Right?
There has to be a leader. But there could be a lead switch.
Yeah.
What if during the dance?
I actually enjoy to be led.
Yeah.
Is it okay to say leaded? No. Led.
Led.
So I actually enjoy it. It's a fun feeling. Like, it just doesn't happen often. I tried with a couple of guys that I feel comfortable with, and we just fun and just switch the roles. But it's
there
fun.
is a physical thing though too, like the height thing. Like often men are taller than women. Like that's just a biological thing, and it's easier to lead from if you're
spin especially.
Exactly. If I'm trying to lead you and spin you, that's going to be hard for me. But yeah, I'm all about reflecting on gender. Like we're in 2020. Come on, gender is like let's.
When I started to work with you, and the main reason I worked with you on, we did one choreo at the beginning like years ago, and I did a couple of choreo projects, and it's because you had a very special perspective on art. It was because you just wanted to do art for art, and I never thought in my head space that we're going to portray the ladies a certain way and we put them sexy with sexy clothes and guys should be portrayed in another way. I actually never cared about that. And I saw it quite often in the salsa world.
Yeah.
I think it's just boring.
I think it's pretty boring too.
Because if you go to see like in a Congress, 90% of the people are going to go that route. So you get one good number, two good numbers, and all doing the exact same thing. Sexy lady, skimpy clothes, guys playing the macho and stuff like that. So once, twice, it's good. I can appreciate that, and it has its value.
Yeah.
But a whole friggin' hour and a half, come on, guys.
Well, again,
what a waste of time.
you're gonna get me into formatting again, like salsa conventions. If you're going to have like a show, they're all like 3-minute performances and they're all about the same thing. Like basically like one or two numbers will stand out, but it's too much. Nobody can take that much.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
But you did a piece that was not the gender typical thing.
Yeah, I switched it around. And the funniest thing is that piece, you can find it on YouTube. It's called something like Sexy Gender Switch Cha-Cha-Cha or something like that. And the funniest part is that when you rehearse with the same group, they kind of got used to the the ideas that I brought into the table. And I like to work with flashes. So sometimes I go, I have this idea. It'd be fun to do, right? So for six months, you just try something fun, out of the ordinary. We didn't get paid for it. It wasn't revenue generated. So we're just doing it for fun, right? So I had a bunch of people that were willing to follow me. But at the end of the experience, after many years, when I came and I presented the idea, the reaction was gold. They were like, they thought it was...
The reaction from the audience or from the dancers?
No, from the dancers, because they didn't see me coming. I goes, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to learn how to do country line dancing. It's going to have a country line dancing feel, and we're going to switch the genders.
Yeah.
And
how did they react?
It was so funny.
Yeah,
a couple of guys, like one guy went full on, and there was the girls were on board right away. They had a hard time playing macho. It's like playing like really rough and the typical man kind of like, I'm here, I'm the guy, And the girl, like us, we had to explore the typical feminine side of like movement, wavy motions, practicing our body waves, practicing sexy faces, whatever that means. And it was all very caricatural, like it was made to be funny. It wasn't made to be any type of serious. But some guys had an issue to go full on, like to take the role to that next step. Like when I interact, or the typical salsa roles where the girl is like seductress and the guy is playing the hard to get or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right?
I know exactly what you mean.
But to when I am in my role, I have to seduce you. I remember when we were working with Jill, right? And we're both friends, right? And I'm standing next to you and we're both friends, right? So I'm looking at you a certain way. And I remember our coach said, that's not the way you should look at her. And I go, how should I look at her? And he goes, you should look at her and, admire her neck. He's like, admire her neck? What the hell are you talking about? So then I started to get into it, to lock in that 5 minutes where we can feel safe. And I'll look at you a certain way. And then we go out and we tap hands, and leave, right? It means nothing besides the full-on exploration. That's probably how actors feel also.
Probably.
And sometimes it's difficult. If I ask a very macho guy, now it's time to be feminine, and you have to go all out. He has to understand what it means. He has to understand how it's going to look. Then he's going to have to practice these moves. The lady.
But I think for me, that's like the technical part. But the biggest part is breaking that barrier in their mind.
I agree.
Of being like, okay, I'm going to actually allow myself to go there.
Yeah.
And maybe I think it's easier for women to go there. But also, one thing I want to point out is like the being ugly, like, because feminine, like, and then we're going to put you a mustache, and they're not going to feel pretty.
Exactly.
And that feeling can be hard also.
You have an excellent point, because some dancers told me this.
Yeah.
Flat out. They said, I have a hard time of not being pretty.
Yeah.
And it's strange to hear from them.
And the path for me as an artist, like, I was asked when I was, 17 or something, to portray an exhibitionist, a male exhibitionist who was really disgusting. And I had to do that role. I was tap dancing. And I hated it in a way, because I didn't feel pretty. When you're younger, you don't want to necessarily be the bad guy or the ugly character. But then when you have so many like actors or dancers, when you have so many of these experiences where, you're pretty, I'm like, can I be ugly now? Like,
yeah, I agree. I think that it's liberating.
You pass that point and you're like, okay, give me something else now. I don't want to be pretty all the time,
I actually want to do something that I feel that is hard from the standpoint I never tried it. Like, I never tried it. I see how hard it's going to be. I see I have some learning things. I have to learn a new style of dance. I see that that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So then I feel motivated. But if you tell me, do a salsa routine to present, just do plain old salsa routine, one afternoon in a studio, it's done. And I'm going to bore myself to death.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it's nothing against salsa routines. It's just something in me that doesn't want to go there.
I think it's just a natural path. Like you start when you started doing salsa, that was new, that was difficult. Once you're past that point, like for me, at some point I plateaued in salsa, and I was like, okay, I need to feed myself with other stuff, and that's why maybe I stepped away a bit from salsa, and that's not, I was doing a lot of it. Now I'm doing a little bit of it, but it's some point you need some other elements to feed you, whether it's to, have a gender switch or,
Yeah.
whatever it is, you need to be, you need something as an artist to feed you. And
100%.
you can't stay where you were at 10 years ago.
100%. Or else I think it's like playing cover songs in shows year after year, the same shows, but you're not even playing your tunes.
You get bored.
Oh my God. Come on. It's going to be boring as hell.
Maybe some people don't,
No,
but
no,
I do.
I would be bored out of my mind, When I met you and you decided to work with me, God forbid, I remember just that day where I was in a studio and I felt like serious blockage, and it was the first times I was creating routines and stuff like that, and I was really filled with doubt. Doubt that it's going to be good, doubt that you actually chose to work with me, and it was like something you decided because you wanted to work with me, so there must be another agenda. I couldn't figure out why you decided to do it, and I remember coming home and speaking to my wife about it, and she said, listen, if you would really suck, she wouldn't choose you. She's not stupid. That single comment helped me to just not think about that. Did you ever go through these doubts as a creator, or maybe you developed ways to deal with that? Because I went through it many times.
No, you always go through it. At every step, you go through it. As a dancer, as a choreographer, my God, feeling like shit is part of it.
What do you do when that happens?
I think what you did is talking to somebody like your wife. I would talk to my boyfriend and kind of, because you get so caught up in your head and into something that's very specific, and you don't see the bigger picture anymore. Last summer I felt very vulnerable because I showed my work that I was working on to a lot of artists, and artists are very critical. So I got slapped in the face hard.
It's because they're jealous.
Well, whatever. I mean, criticism is good, and that's
point.
how you advance. And sometimes it's not that good, but it was a hard thing to, and it just, I wanted to hear it because I welcomed it, but at the same time afterwards, it made me feel maybe my work is not good.
Can you explain how it happened?
There was a workshop, a week-long workshop called The Lab, and they had invited specific teachers. And at night we had showing. So if you wanted to show a piece that you were working on, you could show. I was ready. I was performing a week later at the Place des Arts. So I had 2 solid pieces, boom, 30 minutes. People were showing work in progress. So they saw a very finished product. And I think people were reacting in a way that they could criticize the hell out of it because it was kind of, you're ready for it. It's not like, oh, you're a little fragile thing.
Was it done in a constructive way, meaning everybody that was there knew that that's going to happen?
Yes, everybody
was
knew.
Criticizing the hell out of each other. It was like a critic fest.
No. There's something that happens, and I think we do that as teachers as well. When you see a strong dancer, maybe you're more inclined to criticize. When you see, let's say, the student that's struggling in your class, what are you going to say to them? Are you going to destroy them? No. You're going to be like, you're doing good. You can do this. Oh, that little thing, try to work on it, but you're doing good. You're really reinforcing. And sometimes I think that's a shame that the stronger dancers we have will be tougher on them. And it's good to be tough, but I think you also need to have really good feedback also. So I talked to my sister afterwards, going to my little circle helped me. And if you're training people, you always need to have a really good balance of positive, telling people what they're doing good is really as important as telling them what they're not doing good.
But don't you think opening yourself to critiques like that is actually counterproductive?
I'm still thinking about that. I'm still wondering, but I think I need to hear it.
Why not just hire a couple of people that you trust that they can bash your work in that controlled way instead of just putting it out there and have random artists criticize it?
Because my job is to put my work out there.
Yeah, but you can put your work out there without being slammed.
Yeah.
I'll give you a more concrete example. So let's say if I do a piece, right, and I show it to the world, right, and people say a bunch of stuff. Let's say they write articles on my piece. Of course, I can choose to read the article or not, but my goal is to create, right? So let's say if you're a creator, your goal is to create. Yeah, you can listen to feedback to a certain point, but can you discern if the feedback is in your best interest, meaning that if the person has your back or is actually just putting your work down? It's very hard. Like you end up feeling like shit if there's too many people saying bad shit about your stuff.
You do, but I think to me, I'm in the process of, I need to, like, if you're a dancer and you're hearing criticism, you just take it. If you're a choreographer, it's all about choices. So it's making me more aware of the choices I want to make. So even if you say the whole thing is shit, okay, why? And this is going to make, like, they're going to point out things in your work that maybe you don't know about your work. And either you're going to be like, I'm going to change it, or you're going to be like, no, this is important to me, I'm going to keep it.
What about tastes?
And there's a lot of it into it. It's art.
Because
it's taste.
If I don't like it,
it's just making you hold your ground more about your work. I think it's making you define more.
I'll give you an example. You did how many pieces with Audrey's Angels?
Like 12 at least.
Okay, so let's say you have 12 pieces. There's many pieces I liked. Some I didn't feel anything about. And 2 maybe I didn't like.
Yeah.
Never came to you and say I didn't like these pieces.
Yeah.
What would be the purpose? Right? What would I gain beside letting you know I'm an expert? Right? I'm going to let you know why I didn't like them.
But if I ask you, did you like the piece? I want to hear your feedback.
That's different.
Would you give it to me? That's what I did. I did ask for the feedback.
Okay. Because it's different. Now, if you ask me, but at the same time, you are on another level in my headspace as a creator and as a dancer. I'm not in a position to critique your work because I'm going to give you my take on the work, meaning my tastes. I'm not going to say, well, the girls didn't spin well or whatever. I come from the point where if I have nothing good to say, I don't say it.
But that's a good, like,
I don't say it because there's no purpose. What am I going to accomplish? I'm going to make you feel like shit. I'm going to make you question your work. You already question your work.
But sometimes you're going to point out an aspect that I wasn't thinking about, and maybe that's going to make me grow.
So you see it like that? So let's say the experience you lived through.
Yeah.
Right?
And made me grow.
How?
So
let me say, so you went there, you knew you're going to get critiqued.
No, I knew I was going to get some feedback.
Some feedback meaning?
It could be good, it could be bad.
Okay, so, but you were going there for that sole purpose.
I wanted to hear
So it wasn't like random people saying, yeah, you're shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were going there like a laboratory and people went at it.
Yeah.
50-50 or it was mainly negative?
It depends. One of the piece got more negative feedback and the other piece was more 50-50.
And what kind was it? What did they say?
I got told I'm too intense.
So fucking what?
So yeah, exactly.
So it's an intense piece.
Exactly. It's an intense piece.
So it's an intense piece.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm intense. Shut the fuck up. I'm serious. What is that all about? It's an intense piece. I'm intense.
Yeah.
I think you're too intense.
Yeah.
Remember we did a choreo once and we presented in a competition, and I was playing this like guy that's like really intense and stuff like that. I was told the same thing by the judges. They said you were too intense. What do you want me to do? Like that's the piece. Like what am I supposed to not be intense? Don't you think that after all these things, if you start listening to the people all the time, you won't know what's what? Like you won't even know what's your voice because you're catering to the comments.
I think that's the thing. Hearing so many voices and being so confused because I got positive people. Some people, and even like experts, like they were really guest teachers. Among them, sometimes they didn't agree. Like they say that part with the chair, I love it. And the other one says that part with the chair, I hate it. And you know what it gave me is it let me know that my work is polarizing.
Fantastic.
And I did not know that.
Fantastic.
And I loved it.
Best work.
Exactly.
Because people are going to talk about it.
Exactly. So,
Beautiful.
it was tough process to go through, but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm intense and I'm polarizing. And I was like, I like that.
Yeah. And would you subject your work like that every single time to a group like that? To like critiques and having like this lab work?
In more in the way that you talked about of like asking some people that I know are, in my best interest, like that are not there to demolish my work.
Exactly.
And that's the process also of finding these these golden gems that, people that are there that are going to give you the feedback
truth.
you need to
Yeah,
to
and
hear,
the truth. You like I had one or two people like that, and I sometimes they would look at me and say that's shit. Mm-hmm. But I was paying them and I was trusting them. That's very different. So if you're telling me it's shit, I'm not going to feel bad. I'm just going to say, oh yeah, seriously, yeah, you're right. I'm just going to go. It's like following. That's your coach, right?
Exactly.
So whatever he says, that's a moment you are being coachable. You want to be receptive. You're not going to start questioning your coach.
No.
If he says shit, it's shit. Let's move on, right?
Yeah.
So by moving on, you're bettering yourself. But you're tough because I would never subject myself to that kind of criticism.
You know what? I still had mixed feelings, and recently I was reading about posting online, and I think you do a lot of that, so you'll probably have some good insight. Mm-hmm. And I don't post a lot of my work, like process and everything. And one of my objectives this year is to post more, to subject myself also to criticism, because when you're exposing yourself more, you're allowing yourself to be seen, but also, getting the critique and toughening yourself, because I think that's part of it.
Let me give you an advice that I follow on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I rarely, almost barely read comments.
There was one image that I loved, like the bad comments that are online, whatever. And they were saying, if a dog shits in your garden, would you leave the shit there? No, you would clean it up,
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. If I'm posting a video or something of my work and somebody shits on it, just clean it up. And I love that idea.
Yeah. And there's something about, like, one thing that made me really conscious about doing YouTube videos is that what am I using my time for, right? So let's say if I have a certain amount of time, and we talked about it just a couple of, maybe an hour ago, you said about the amount of time we got. So I can take that time and read comments and then respond and then freak out. And because somebody called this person that I know, and at first time I put videos of me and you, and people were writing stuff on you, and I got so upset. I took it so personal because you were my friend.
Yeah.
I was like, who are these people? And I put the filters of profanity higher on my channel so nobody can write bad words. As soon as they write bad words, they're out, right? Mm-hmm. So that helps. That keeps the channel clean, because I don't want people bashing. Like, I don't mind people saying I don't like it and I think this is not good and stuff like that. I don't. It doesn't affect me. But you start to make it personal, and you're just somewhere in Czechoslovakia behind a screen. You're
anonymously
keyboard warrior, and you're like, yeah, this bitch and stuff like that. I read some awful comments. You think, okay, this is how low can humanity go?
Yeah, people can be really destructive.
But the time that I have is about creation. Mm-hmm. So I should not take care of that aspect. I should just put some work, meaningful work out there, and let the people decide if it's bad or good. But it's not mine to decide.
What's the interesting aspect of putting your work out there? People discover you, right? Because if you're not putting yourself out there,
exactly,
the people that are interested in what you do, that like what you do, that maybe, let's say, I don't know who you like as a musician. Who do you like as a musician?
As a musician.
Yeah. Let's say you would get to collaborate with any musician.
Any musician.
Who would you choose?
Jesus. I love a lot of musicians. Let me think really quickly. Guitarist Tommy Emmanuel.
Okay. So he sees your work and then he responds, writes, and then you guys connect through that.
100%.
So I'm hoping for these magical connections. I already have them in my life, but if they can come from YouTube and, Facebook, why not?
100%. 100%. Have you ever thought about what you're going to do when you retire?
I'm not going to retire.
You're going to dance still?
I might not dance.
Well, what are you going to do?
My life plan is to work until I die.
Fantastic. Well, how about dancing? How do you see the later rounds?
I already feel like my body's way more tired than when I was 20, 25. So I can see...
How old are you now? I don't even know.
I'm almost 35.
Fantastic.
So, the energy lowers. I'm adapting my dancing to it. And also, the idea of presenting my own work, I can adapt to what my body can give me. So when you're dancing for another choreographer, and let's say they're asking you they want your leg up to your nose, like you got to give them.
Or in your nose.
That's
difficult.
But, like being able to cater your work to what you want to do and what your body is giving you, I think is where I'm going. And at some point, ideally would be to choreograph on other bodies so I don't have to strain my body when I get older. And at some point, I might want to be a tourist guide,
Why not?
I speak 4 languages. I'm like, when am I going to put that into
Fantastic.
into some kind of productive
For
work?
sure. So, but you see yourself, do you ever picture a date where you're going to stop dancing at like an age?
No, I'm really at in a feeling like mode of how my body feels, how my spirit feels also. Like how many times in my career did I feel like I don't want to dance anymore? And when that voice comes in, it really scares the hell out of me. I'm like, oh God, not that voice. Because it's happened maybe 4 or 5 times that it's like, okay.
You thought about quitting?
Yeah, I thought about quitting. And those were shift moments. Like I had to shift how I was going with my career. And yeah, whenever that voice comes in, I know a change needs to happen. So I'm listening to my body, listening to my spirit. I need to feel inspired all the time. That's really, that's also one of the reasons I don't teach a lot. Like I admire you teach 11 hours a week because I probably couldn't do it. To me, like I get more energy out of choreography and dancing, performing. So when I have to teach, I love it, but in small doses.
Yeah, for sure.
You
have to make a call at some point.
Exactly.
I was doing both, and at some point when you get kids, I decided to bank on teaching and you performing.
Exactly.
Which is just a question of time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Time managing again. You can't do it all.
Fantastic. How about we finish with some rapid fire questions? I like to finish with rapid fire questions because it lets the people know who you are. Like it gives you a bit of an insight of who you are. So you can answer whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever comes in the top of your head. So let's start. So what excites you?
Life.
Fantastic. What is your favorite curse word?
Damn it.
What other profession would you like to attempt?
Tourist guide.
What are you not very good at?
Quiz question. I said all lies. It's not good.
Who's your role model and why?
Oh, God. I know this one. Oh, God. Lloyd Newson.
Who's that?
I just discovered him yesterday.
Come on. Who's that?
He's a choreographer he's in London. He's from Australia. He has Deviate Company, physical theater, and very socially, politically involved in his work.
Nice.
I love it.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Love it.
When you have been the most satisfied in your life?
Performing my own work at Place des Arts.
Hey, what things you don't like to do?
Clean.
What's your superpower?
Oh, God. Those are hard questions. My superpower.
Yeah.
Come on.
What's your superpower?
Being productive.
Fantastic. What's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Rigor. That's a strange answer, but yeah.
That's good. If you could have dinner with any one person dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Nelson Mandela.
Why?
To discuss how he dedicated to his life to social change.
What would you pick for last meal?
Lobster.
Mm-hmm. If you can turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self,
oh God,
what would you tell her?
Write a grant.
Now. Don't wait till you're 35.
Exactly.
Do it now. Get some monies.
Get the money right now.
Awesome. Alrighty, so we finish on a really cool note. Thank you very much for coming. I know you're very, very busy. Thank you for doing this. I really wanted to have this conversation going deep in some business aspect of dance. How can people find out about you?
You can go to my webpage, audreygaussiran.com. There's also a Facebook page with my name on it again. Also have an Instagram, so anything to catch my work and see what I'm doing Yeah, let me know what you think.
Fantastic.
I love the feedback.
Keep it clean, guys. Keep it clean. All right, guys. So see you on the next podcast. Thank you very much, Audrey Gaussiran.
Thank you.
See you on the next one, hopefully.
I hope so.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ciao.